and I've done this, we've all done this. You do a bunch of different things, and we hear all kinds of stuff. There's, a lot of big promises, a lot of hype about what works. You need to be doing video, you need to be on YouTube, you need, even on LinkedIn, people are making outrageous claims about, hey, you can get 100 leads a month, or whatever, and it all the noise kind of takes you away of really discovering what is it that you want to do, and what is it that you do best, and not only that, what is it that your prospects really want to hear from you? What is it that you can do to position yourself as that authority? And we kind of just drift away from that just because of all the noise. And so it's really a case of focusing in and saying, geez, if you're most comfortable speaking from the stage, someone like you, Billy, capitalize on that. If you're comfortable in front of the camera, capitalize on doing videos. If you're comfortable doing writing, start to write content. There's something there that you can capitalize on, that you have a natural talent, a natural communication skill.
Welcome to the Fix My Insurance Agency podcast. Each podcast will share the conversations, best practices, experiences, and influences that have generated over $1 billion in insurance premium. So sit back and let us help you fix your insurance agency. Okay, guys, this is Billy Williams. Appreciate you being here. Today, I'm really excited to have one of my good friends, Walt Goshert, with me here. And Walt, I always butcher your name. Is it Goshert or Goshert?
Goshert, I'll go with that.
All right, there we go, Walt Goshert. All right, and so Walt, I'm not going to try to, flower up your introduction. I'm going to let you tell them what you do and how you're the expert and the authority in your world. So tell us a little bit about you, Walt.
Okay, a little bit of a background. I was in the insurance business for 25 years. Started with Aetna before they merged with Travelers and Citigroup. Was a broker, commercial agent for 15 years, and did a little bit of work with a CPA on the investment side of the business. And for the last 20 years, I've been really an independent marketing consultant, and most recently work now with commercial insurance agents, brokers, and really help them to move from that commodity agent to being positioned as the trusted authority advisor. In a nutshell, that's what I help them to do, and we'll dig into more in how that process works.
Okay, so the main problem that you solve, I know you just talked about this, but I want to make it simple for people like me. So the main problem that you solve for insurance agents and agencies is what?
The main problem would be is most agents that I talk to, especially in the middle market commercial agents, is they tell me, geez, I'm really good when I get in front of a qualified prospect or a qualified lead. The problem is they don't have enough of those qualified opportunities. And they all know how to prospect because they built some part of a book of business. But what their problem is they don't have a prospecting process. That's their problem. It's a habit or something, a process that is built on a sound foundation of a strategy, and that fits their personality, their market, who their carrier makeup is, so that it's something they can deliver and do consistently.
Gotcha. So I know you use LinkedIn as part of your prospecting process. So can you give us some secret sauce, if you don't mind, about your prospecting process that you teach other agents?
Yeah, it really, I break it down into, to move from that commodity agent to the trusted authority. It's really a 3x3 part of the process. And it starts with the foundation. It starts with the agent understanding what their vision is, what their goals are, why they're doing what they do. And a big part, and I get a lot of resistance on this, and a lot of, I guess, people hesitating on it, is to really commit to a target market or a target focus, rather than being a generalist. Really having something that that agent can say, hey, this is my difference. Here's who I work with, or here's the specific problem that I solve. And then taking that and really working on the languaging, the messaging, so that there is a difference in how they're communicating into the market. And then building the platform, having the stories, whether they're client success stories. And the platform it could be LinkedIn, and many times for business to business, with commercial, that's a great platform to be on, but it might be YouTube. It might be public speaking in person. It might be working with their strategic partner network. And then from there, once the platform's defined, it's getting into having a game plan of what the content's going to be and who they're going to connect with, whether that is strategic partners, their prospect target list, and then taking that into an action plan. What is going to be the action plan as far as producing content, building relationships, and how frequently is that going to happen? What do they need to do? It really gets into the habit part of that. And then building those relationships, and then looking at what's working, what isn't working, and tweaking it and testing it.
Okay. Do you provide content for agents or agencies?
I do. A lot of them, what I find is with a lot of the people that I work with is they're not necessarily, they're busy servicing their books of business or doing a lot of other things. And, it's a great opportunity. A lot of them haven't seized it because they don't really have a process to do it. So I'll either do the content for them or do some initial part of it, and then they have the strategy and the templates to generate it themselves. And I think the other part of it that's really big, and I know you do this, Billy, is to repurpose that content. Just as we're talking about here now, it may be that you have a podcast where you're interviewing your clients, potential prospects, other authority experts, whether it's CPAs, attorneys, whatever, that service your market, and taking that video podcast and then breaking it up into other pieces of content, putting that onto YouTube, doing snippets of the video on YouTube, doing snippets of the video on LinkedIn, taking screen captures or images and posting those up on YouTube or other places online. And so it's really squeezing the most out of that content if you're investing time or money into generating the content in the first place.
Gotcha. Now, I think that one of the real issues with agents is that we want more than we have the capacity to do. So we take on all these different tasks and all these different roles, and we buy every piece of technology that we see, and every new program that comes out, we're ready to spend money on it, to the point that we're overwhelmed with ideas and very little implementation. So one of the things that I know about you, Walt, is that you make them implement. So looking at it from that standpoint, what is the hardest or what is the most difficult path that you see when it comes to agents actually implementing something, or what is the real problem?
I think it gets back to the process, and that's a habit. It's really figuring out, it's just so easy to do things that are comfortable and not doing the things that are necessarily productive that move your business forward. Even though some of the things that may move your business forward and some of those habits could be things that you do very well, which is always kind of puzzling. But, it's really finding that combination of habits that you feel comfortable and confident doing on a daily basis. And a lot of times it goes back to what I talked about before. I think a lot of times, and I've done this, we've all done this, you do a bunch of different things and we hear all kinds of stuff. A lot of big promises, a lot of hype about what works. You need to be doing video, you need to be on YouTube, you need, even on LinkedIn, people are making outrageous claims about, hey, you can get 100 leads a month or, whatever. And it all the noise kind of takes you away of really discovering what is it that you want to do and what is it that you do best. And not only that, what is it that your prospects really want to hear from you? What is it that you can do to position yourself as that authority? And, we kind of just drift away from that just because of all the noise. And so it's really a case of focusing in and saying, geez, if you're most comfortable speaking from the stage, someone like you, Billy, capitalize on that. If you're comfortable in front of the camera, capitalize on doing videos. If you're comfortable doing writing, start to write content. There's something there that you can capitalize on, that you have a natural talent, a natural communication skill. And all agents have some kind of communication skills, or they wouldn't be successful at all.
Yeah, I hate to hear an agent say, "Oh, if I can just get them in front of me, Billy, and once I have them face to face, then I can close them." Well, I'm like, well, you didn't really generate anything. That's just like me buying you an internet lead and handing it to you. Anybody can close when the person has already said, "I'm interested. I can sit down and I can talk to you. I'm interested." Anybody can close that. But can you generate the interest from the beginning? Can you light the fire? Can you make them inquisitive? Can you make them want to know more about what you do? And I'm not saying that everybody has that gift, but agents, if you're the kind that you only say, "I can close them if they're in front of me," then you have a whole 90% of this 100% of prospecting that you're missing out on. You're blowing.
It's like, one of the books is The Ultimate Sales Machine by the late Chet Holmes, and he breaks it down to say at any given time, there's 3% of the market is actively looking to buy. 7% of the market is open to buying if you hit them with the right message. And I think, and that means there's another 90% of the people that are out there that for them to be open to buying from you, you have to be able to build that relationship and nurture them and show them that you're the authority. And that's really where the opportunity is, because that's what, 99% of the people aren't taking advantage of that opportunity. They're just missing it. And then all of a sudden they fall back into that commodity trap where they're competing against everyone else to land the 3% of the people that say they're interested in buying now.
Gotcha. So how do you bridge from being the expert or the expert technician to the authority? What are some of the secrets that you would share with us on that?
I think that's a good question, because expert technician is, and this gets at to some of the things, if anyone's read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and that's another trap I think a lot of agents fall into. They become very good as technicians. They become experts in insurance and maybe in risk management. And really, to grow their book of business, they have to be more thinking along the lines of being that entrepreneur. And how do they build systems that can get them in front of more qualified people? How can they build systems that spread their message and spread their authority a little bit more? And that's a different skill set than knowing that you're comfortable talking about insurance or talking about or consulting someone on risk management applications. It's really having that ability to get out of where you're stuck on the 3% and keep competing on the 3%. But how do you have a way that you can carry that message and repeat it and have a system to be able to do that?
Okay, what's the easiest method? If you could not leave our audience, but if you give our audience one simple to-do method that they could walk away today and put in place, what would you give them? That the average agent could just do?
I think the first thing to do is to start. And even if you're uncomfortable with content or not sure what your messaging is or whatever, I think LinkedIn gives you a great opportunity to get started. And And the way to do that is to start commenting, and not commenting on other insurance agents' posts, but comment on potential clients' posts or potential strategic partners' posts. And that gets you in the habit of actually creating content and providing some insights. And from there, you start to learn about the market, and you start to engage, and you start to build a following. And that's probably one of the things that I see also as an issue is a lot of agents follow other agents, and they're not really building connections with their potential clients or potential strategic partners, others, CPAs, attorneys, vendors who service their market. Start to build relationships with those people, or even if it's your prospects, it might be people in their HR department. It might be business development people or salespeople of your prospects. Start to build relationships with them. People who are more likely to be active on LinkedIn, and that then by commenting and doing that, that's something anyone can do without having a big strategy of what content you need to develop, but it starts getting you into the mind of your prospects, and it starts creating that habit and engagement habit.
One of the things that I always talk about, and I know you've heard me talk about this, is that people act like this is all brand new, like LinkedIn and YouTube and all this is all brand new. It's just another way of doing what's always been there. YouTube is the new television. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is the new country club, the new Chamber of Commerce. When we see to the Chamber of Commerce,
LinkedIn is like it's like a trade show. Yes. And your profile is your trade show booth. And
right. So if you're out there,
if your profile sucks, it means that you have a crappy trade show booth. And no one's going to stop. They're just not going to stop by and engage you. And it kind of starts with that trade show booth. And the thing is you get to determine who you're going to invite to your trade show by who you connect with and who you engage with on LinkedIn.
And I've been in trade shows where literally there was a booth and there was a name and a tablecloth and nobody else was there. Yeah. And that's how a bad profile is. It's like who is this?
And there's a lot of them like that. Sadly, there's just too many of them like that. And they all, I've looked at thousands of them, and they all kind of look the same. They're all saying the same thing, and you have to think about the mindset of people and the psychology of people when they're on LinkedIn. And you basically, just because the attention spans and all the noise, you basically have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention on LinkedIn once they hit your profile. And if you're not instantly seen in the mind of that potential client as that authority, it's just so easy for them to click away and just dismiss you. And they may have found you from, someone mentioned you as a referral, or you called them, or you met them at some type of networking meeting. They're always going to look you up online, and more than likely they're going to find your LinkedIn profile.
Yep. And I'm at the point now where literally if I can't communicate with a person on LinkedIn or at least see something about you on LinkedIn, I start to wonder if you're really, I won't say professional because that's not the right word, but are you really engaged with your market? I've had companies that go, oh man, it seems like you'd be good. Look, what's your LinkedIn? Oh, I don't really use LinkedIn. And I'm like, that means you're kind of, I won't say closed-minded, but you're really small in the way that you're thinking. And if you're trying to just be big in your little neighborhood, then hey, that's fine. But if you want to be seen as an authority in your marketplace and in your profession, you need to be on LinkedIn, pure and simple.
Yeah, it is that simple. And I just think, right now, LinkedIn is a great opportunity. It's, you get, when you do publish content, it does get quite a bit of reach. And, that's probably not going to be forever. And right now there's less than 1% of the people are actually consistently producing content. So the opportunity's there. And probably if we looked at the whole population of insurance agents, I would be surprised if it's even half of 1% that are consistently producing original content. Yeah, I see a lot of people sharing links, and whether it be just sharing links to insurance journal articles or business insurance articles or something that Travelers or CNA produced, and without any insight or context at all, and that just gets you nothing on LinkedIn, because when you really think about it, LinkedIn wants to keep people on their platform.
Right.
And so if you just share an article with a link out to Business Insurance or Insurance Journal, you're taking people off the platform. And so LinkedIn just isn't going to show that to your followers and to your connections.
One of the things that I did, I actually ran this experiment for about a month just to see. I did native video, which means I loaded it to LinkedIn, and then I did links to YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I just watched to see what my engagement was. Was I going anywhere? Was I doing anything? And all the native video that I loaded instantly got better viewership. Instantly. I mean, I'd get 1,000 views of this video. I'd get 200 of this. In order for me to bump up my linked to YouTube videos, I had to start tagging a bunch of people and then letting those people help share that. Then it would get a little bit more. But once I loaded native, especially if it was under 5 minutes, if I loaded native video and I tagged people, now I'm up in that 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 viewer range. And I don't know if you guys are using Facebook, but for you to get 3,000 views on Facebook, good Lord, how much money
those days are over. Yeah, those days are over.
How much money do you have to spend, right, to get 3,000?
Yeah, unless you're buying ads, it's not going to happen on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think that just proves the point, Billy. It's when you upload the video directly to LinkedIn, you're keeping the people on the platform. But if you post it as a YouTube video with a link, you're taking them off the platform. And it's just, when you think about it, it's just kind of common sense.
Right. No, it absolutely is. All right. So tell me about you, Walt. I know what you're doing to help other agents. Let's talk about you, though. What was the last book you read, or what book are you reading now?
Right now, I'm reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. And, I'm kind of a simple guy. And he just breaks down, having simple daily habits and what that means. And I'm just going to pull this up. And I just read this again today. It was on one of his pages. And this is the quote from the book: "Habits do not restrict freedom, they create it." And that's just such a profound statement. And it's not only habits of, we talked about prospecting habits, but we're talking about habits in everything that you do, whether it's your eating, working out, how you treat your spouse or family, communication and spending time with them. Habits really dictate almost everything. And a lot of times we think that, geez, by just following habits, it's kind of boring, and sometimes it is, but it frees you up. Mm-hmm. And boy, it's something I struggle with, and I think a lot of people struggle with it. Yes, you say, geez, it's just, habits are hard. It's hard to break bad habits, and it's difficult to have healthy habits.
It's really crazy. I'm a habit junkie, I guess you could say. Because, being military, growing up military, my dad was military, I was military. So growing up that way, habits were very, very important to us. And one of the things my dad used to tell me all the time is, son, when you develop good habits, now you can put your energy into other creative things. So I grew up as a tennis player, baseball player, all those kind of things. And I remember, especially tennis, because I went to college on a tennis scholarship. I remember in tennis, my dad would tell me, why are you thinking about something that should be a habit? When I was running up to the net, or I was doing an overhead lob, and, I would sit there and I would overthink it. And that was his constant message to me. Why are you thinking about something that should be a habit?
Yeah, it's that unconscious competence.
Yes.
Where it's whether it's tennis, and I used to play a lot of tennis, and now I play a lot of golf. But it's getting to the point where you're not even thinking about any part of your golf swing or what you're doing on the tennis court or whatever. It just becomes, because you practice the habit so many times, it becomes unconscious, and you just do it. And
right. And not just that, not that you just do it, but it frees up the energy for you to think about other things that are more pressing. That, okay, this is 390-yard par 4 with a dog leg. All right, how do I make sure that I'm hitting this right to hook it, versus is my foot right? Is my palm, is my grip right? You know what I mean? Just little things we shouldn't even consider. And now let's relate this back to insurance. As an investor, that's one of the things that I really push and promote in the agencies I invest in. We have to have good habits. It has to be right. And I'll walk into an agency and their top producer will just know. I'll ask her, hey, Susie, what are you doing to do this? Well, I do this, and I do that. And she literally can't break it down for me. She can't, teach me the step by step, because it's such a habit. It's ingrained in her to the point that she's thinking about what the carrier is about to screw up, not about processing some paperwork that she does every single day.
Yeah, it's, I think the top producers, they're focused on, it's just like in golf, they're focused on the target.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking about all the things they do to get to the target. They have a clear vision of where they want to go, what the target is, and they've then created or structured their life and what they do on a daily basis to get them to that target.
Yep.
And it sounds simple, and it is simple. It's very difficult to do.
Well, again, it's all about timing. One of the things that I know it takes to create a habit is you've got to block off the time for the habit. I think that's one of the weaknesses that most people have. They want habits, but they never set aside the time to create habits. You know, I eat at the same time every day. I go to the gym at the same time every day. If somebody was looking to assassinate me, I would be the easiest person in the world to assassinate, because my habits they're just so structured.
And if you look at most people and you follow them around and what they do on a daily basis, you're right. It's pretty boring stuff, because they're doing the same things consistently, and that's what frees them up, and that's what allows them to be successful.
Yep. My dad, who I quote all the time, he's like the smartest man I ever met in my life. He would always talk about consistency and habits and doing all these wonderful things. And the thing that he lived by every single day was, success is boring. He would tell you, if your life every day is exciting and living on the edge and doing all this wonderful stuff, you're not going to be a successful business guy.
No, you're all over the place.
Right.
You don't even know what's going to happen the next minute.
Right. Success. Your lifestyle can be exciting and on the edge with the money that you made from this boring ass job, or this boring ass profession that you have. But every single day of your profession should not be exciting and new and adventurous. That's just not, unless you're a deep sea diver for giant squid. There's no reason for us to have this exciting of a lifestyle in something that we do every single day.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I think when you think about insurance, and it probably offers that time and money freedom, I would argue more so than any other profession that's out there. If you're able to create those kinds of habits, because you have the residual income, but oftentimes it seems we don't take advantage of that opportunity.
Yep, we don't. So let me ask you about this. What was the last app you downloaded on your phone?
That's a great question, and I had to think about that. And it's a little bit of a story. I downloaded an app for my local hospital and doctor network, and back in October, I had a little bit of a scare. I've been healthy my whole life and never had any operations. I've never taken any prescription medications until back in October. I had a couple days where I was feeling tightness in my chest and shortness of breath and all that kind of stuff. And, it was going on a couple days, and it was worse at night when I was trying to sleep. And so one night after, I think it was about a week of this happening, I decided, geez, I really need to go and get this checked out. So I went to the emergency room at the local hospital thinking, I don't know if this is a heart attack, a stroke, or what the hell's going on here. Fortunately, it was really, I think it was just more stress and, probably not sleeping enough. And, I had all the tests, the stress tests on the treadmill and the x-rays and, blood tests and all that, and follow up with a doctor. And, it was nothing there, fortunately, but it opened up my eyes to say, geez, I probably, need to pay a little bit more attention to this. And it's another one of those things, when you think about it now, you can access all that information, all
Yes.
your medical information, and you can schedule the appointments. It's a lot of time saving, to have those applications. We talk about healthcare in this country, and geez, we have a lot of room for improvement there. But I was kind of surprised at the information that was there and how easy it was to set up the appointments and the follow-up appointments and all that kind of thing. So, I think that's something probably everyone should have.
While you brought that up, let me throw something new out there at you. So all this ease of information and ease of access to everything has also led to more cyber crimes. And I know that you're into the large commercial world. And I was reading today about all these cities that have been attacked, Lake City, Florida, and Boston, and all these other things where cyber criminals have basically hijacked all their data, locked it, encrypted it, and then say, pay us $500,000 if you want your data. Whereas the online portals are not as vulnerable to that. So I'm gonna ask this question, two different legs to the same question. Number one, what are you seeing on the middle market commercial for cyber? Are they really promoting it? That's the first question. And then number two, how do you feel about the fact that all this information is easily accessible? Do you see that as a problem?
No, those are some really great questions. And I certainly, since I've been removed from the whole, digging into insurance coverages and all that, I can't claim I'm authority or the expert in that, but I can share a couple of observations. I think, when you're talking about cities and municipalities and that type of thing, I think they're a little bit more vulnerable to cyber attacks because they typically have outdated legacy systems. They probably don't have the resources to do some, latest or maybe, cutting edge cybersecurity. And not only that, they're kind of easy targets for ransomware attacks because the hackers know that they can't afford to be down. Because, if they're shut down, whether it's a city or, utility or whatever it would be, they know they can't afford to do that. And so, for a ransom attack to happen on a city or some utility or whatever, they know they have to pay the ransom and get up and operational as quickly as possible.
Let me jump in real quick. So Lake City, Florida, their ransom, don't quote me on this, but I believe their ransom was $460,000. I think that's what it was. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different city. So let's just forget the city. There was one city that had a ransom demand of $460,000. They said, no, we're not paying it because they didn't have cyber insurance. So far to date, they've spent $7.2 million trying to update their system, trying to recreate their files, trying to do all this other stuff, and they say they're still only 30% of what they would have. So a lot of these cities that say they don't have the resources, it's like you may think you don't have the resources until this hits you, but you're going to have the resources. And the reason why I'm even bringing this up with you is because you work in that middle market. You work with the commercial agents. That's why I want to get your feel. Are you seeing commercial agents talk about it? Are you seeing them work on it?
I see them talking about it, but I think it's an opportunity for them to really be more of the authorities on it, rather than just sharing an article, about that Lake City ransomware attack. I think you have to put that into context and put it into, offer some sort of insights that then that potential client can take away from it to say, okay, if you get hit with a ransomware attack, what are some of the cybersecurity things you need to immediately trigger? That are, how can you give some advice that's, and oftentimes it's risk management advice that's outside of insurance. And I think from, especially when you're talking about cyber, you're talking about a lot of risk management techniques from a cybersecurity standpoint that you can be doing before you even have the discussion about insurance.
Right. No, I love it. I remember we were at Emerge Apps.
Yeah.
Rocket Fuel, I think is what it's called, in Michigan. And we were talking about all those different things about what you could do. And the thing I love about what Randall and, Dustin and those guys are doing is they're giving a product that is not even insurance. It's, look, you got a workers' comp claim, or you got this problem, or you got this problem. Here's how we can be an expert and an authority before we even talk about insurance.
Yeah, I think there's the opportunity, and the same thing, when we're talking with what Randy and Dustin Voss have done with Emerge Apps, to go in and do the OSHA reporting. Why couldn't someone do, an authority, a cybersecurity checklist to say, here's the things, and they're probably brokers, probably USI or Gallagher, some of the bigger brokers, I think, have already done some of these things.
Right.
But to say, okay, what are some things you can be doing from a risk management standpoint with cyber, or what are the steps to take if you do get that ransomware attack notice? What are some things that need to be implemented immediately to minimize or mitigate the risk, and to instead of that 460,000 ransomware turning into 7 million, what are some things that you can be doing to make sure that doesn't happen?
Gotcha. And is that content that you would help them to create or help them to generate?
Yeah, that's some content that and I'll give an example of that. I did create some part of that content for a broker with an NFP, and we talked about, and we did a LinkedIn document talking about equating the whole cyber risk management to the lean process that a lot of the software companies use. And so you're putting into language that they understand. And this was a guy that was working with a lot of DoD contractors. So a lot of this stuff was really, DoD has to really protect their data because you're talking about national security issues there.
Right.
And what happened as a result, we did a series of these articles on LinkedIn and follow-up posts, and there was a DoD contractor who had, I think it was around $150,000 claim, and they were reading his articles, and they called him, and he ended up doing a broker record letter, and I think it was around a $15,000 income account.
Nice.
So
very nice.
It shows that when you do take those steps to add some insight beyond just sharing the article and providing that information, positioning as that authority, and a lot of times, the other thing I mention about that is this was someone that I don't think he was connected to them. They were just, they were a second level connection or something. And I find this a lot with my clients too. It's not the people who are liking or commenting on your content, but they're reading it and they're seeing you, and you're there and you're present and you're educating them. And so it's not, you can get fooled by who's really engaging in your content versus the people who are consuming the content and who could be the potential clients.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to let these guys get back to work. So Walt,
okay, how
would someone get in contact with you?
Easiest way is to connect with me on LinkedIn or go to my website, waltgoshert.com.
Okay, spell that last name for those of us that are not real English savvy.
Sure, Goshert.
Okay, so Walt Goshert, waltgoshert.com.
Yep.
All right. And while we're connected on LinkedIn, I always comment and reply to the things that you post, and you reply and comment to the things that I post. But I don't just do it just to do it. I do it because you post some really great stuff. So that's why.
Likewise.
So that's why I do that. Well, Walt, thank you for your time today. I absolutely appreciate it. And I look forward to us continuing our relationship and our friendship.
You bet. Thanks, Billy. Appreciate the time.